Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com. Just remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Let's get high risk. This is very high risk. Let's talk about Nonito Donaire against Omar Narvaez. Now, let me just say, longtime viewers know I love Nonito Donaire. He's in my top 10 pound for pound list at Dwyer Top 10 Boxing.blogspot.com. I took him over Fernando Montiel in that big matchup between two fighters with great records. And Donaire delivered with the second round knockout. In the last 2 years, none of Donaire's fights have gone the distance. In his last 3 fights, in 2 of the fights, he knocked down his opponent multiple times. And of course, the third was the Montiel fight, where Montiel was KO'd in the second round. The Sidorenko fight, 2 fights ago, is a classic and is Nonito Donaire at his very best. In that fight, he got a 4th round knockout. Let's talk style-wise. And Donaire is an elite fighter. Style-wise, he's a boxer-puncher. Of all the fighters I've seen in boxing today, this is the guy who, to me, is most like Sugar Ray Robinson. Right? His left hand is actually his power hand, but he'll alternate between an orthodox stance and a southpaw stance. More importantly, he likes to lay traps. So when he fought Vic Darchinyan, he was off at the side of the ring. He allowed Darchinyan to come forward. Then he hit Darchinyan with a left hook just as Darchinyan was throwing his own punch. Devastating. Hardest punch Vic Darchinyan has ever been hit with. Fast forward a few years, he's fighting Fernando Montiel. Same thing. Lays a trap. Montiel walks into Donaire's left hook. Donaire lays him out. Hardest punch Fernando Montiel has ever been hit with. Donaire is a big-time puncher, especially with the left hand. Now, I see 2 scenarios for this fight. Right? The public has installed Nonito Donaire as a 25-1 favorite. That's what a minus 2,500 is. Right? He's a 25-1 favorite. They fought 26 times. The public believes Nonito Donaire, an elite fighter, wins 25 of the 26. There is a scenario, especially since he's fighting a 36-year-old who hasn't fought at this weight before, right? Who's much smaller than him, 4 inches smaller than him. There is a scenario where Donaire comes out and just blows out Omar Narvaez, right? Just like he did in the Sidorenko fight against that opponent. Or where Donaire, just too big, just too powerful. Understand, Donaire is one of those fighters who has to lose weight to make weight. He's actually bigger than the weight class, just like Victor Ortiz is at 147. So there is a scenario where he's just simply too big. He lays a trap. The first left hook that lands flush on Narvaez's temple ends the fight, and we have an early knockout. That scenario is as possible as any other scenario. The nearby KO could happen. But what if there is another scenario? What if the shorter man is actually the better technician? What if the shorter man knows how to use his height to his advantage and is able to come in and is able to, with leans and angles, positioning in the ring, if he's able to destabilize taller fighters, have the taller fighters reaching for him, what if his footwork is such that his taller opponents can never quite figure out when exactly he's going to throw a punch? What if the shorter guy is actually a defensive master who will easily slip a jab and block a left hook? What if the shorter guy at 36 is unbeaten and to this day continues to be unbeaten prospects like Cesar Cita? Right? Let me just point out too that Omar Narvaez is literally exactly the kind of fighter I try to look for so I can bet on him, because boxing is the sweet science. And when I see a guy, particularly an older fighter, who's not that well known, boxing's global, some people might not know Argentinian boxing. When I see an older guy who's not that well known, who on film, I can't even find film of this guy getting hit flush, who seems to be able to fight outside. That's right. He's fighting outside when he's 5'3". Then he can turn the tables and literally hunt you down. Understand too, Sugar Ray Robinson, great fighter, excellent fighter. Even he got beaten in his prime by the Raging Bull, Jake LaMotta. And what LaMotta did was LaMotta walked Ray Robinson down. He got inside of Ray Robinson's arms and literally walked him down, got him up on the ropes, punished him, negated his technical brilliance by smothering him. Let me just tell you, in my opinion, this fight is juicy. If Nonito Donaire does not, in the first few rounds of this fight, first half of this fight, if Nonito Donaire does not get the KO and does not establish a size supremacy and a power discrepancy, if he's not able to rough up Omar Narvaez in the first few rounds of this fight, rounds 1 to 4, we'll throw in 5 and 6 because of the prop I'm going to discuss on Skybet, right? Then Donaire is going to find himself in trouble. In fact, let's go further. If this fight makes it to the 7th or 8th rounds, and yes, I'm talking about the guy fighting a 25 to 1 favorite, I'm expecting the 5'3" guy to actually be the aggressor in the fight. The bet I'm recommending, I know I'm going to sound crazy online, but it's cool. It's cool. Because I don't deal minus 2,500s, right? Why would I bet on 25 to 1 long odds? The bet I'm recommending, and it's present right now on Skybet. If you're at a sophisticated casino, you can substitute the casino's round betting props. Is on Skybet. Either fighter by KO in the first 6 rounds of this fight, you get even money on. Right? Forget paying 25 to 1. Here, if you think Donaire can close the show in the first 6 rounds, as he has the last, I believe, 4 fights, you can get even money on this fight. But that's only part of the bet, right? The either fighter for the first 6 rounds. The other part of the bet is the straddle. And this is very high risk. Narvaez to win. You'll get anywhere from 8 to 1 to 10 to 1 odds depending on your casino. I got to be blunt with you. When I heard about this fight, and I heard that they were giving 8 to 1 odds, and that's on the low end. They were giving 8 to 1 odds on Omar Narvaez. My attitude was, hey, I'll take Narvaez. Didn't even know who he was fighting. Okay, because the bottom line is this. Nobody deserves to be an 8 to 1 or higher favorite against Omar Narvaez. This guy is as much a technician as Bernard Hopkins. Understand, this guy is one of the best fighters in Argentina. And this guy literally knows how to go the distance against bigger opponents. That's his career. In fact, quite frankly, his last few fights have gone the distance. And in the clips I'm watching, it's a mistake to assume he's a little guy who's a boxer with no punch who's on the outside. No, quite the opposite. He's a guy who can stay outside when he knows you can't hit him outside. Then he comes inside into your wheelhouse, literally, and then is able to break you down. He can fight outside in. He can fight inside out. And Donaire has been a bit too reliant on that left hook. If you take that left hook away from Donaire, can't you go the distance against him as Concepcion did in 2009? I'm expecting this fight to be an either or. And I think you're covered on both if you have the KO prop for the early part of the fight. Donaire could come out, be too big, be too fast, win by KO. If you have the KO prop in the first part of the fight, and then if you have the Narvaez prop, right, the Narvaez to win for the rest of the fight. Because if this gets to the later rounds, I'll tell you what, a lot of people are going to be biting their nails, especially people who work at casinos who realize that they have exposure to an underdog who's going off at plus 800 to plus 1,000, right? Let me also add this too. It's possible, particularly since the fight's in the United States, right? It is possible that Nonito Donaire, who is popular, wins a decision. I'm going to have to fly naked on that possibility, right? Maybe what I should think about doing, in fact, maybe I should recommend this, is if you're a bet portfolio type, maybe you want to have in the bet, because the margins allow it, the over 10.5, right? In other words, you have 1 to 6, right? That's even money. You have Narvaez to win the fight at plus 800. You can add the over 10.5 rounds at plus 225, right? So we're turning a long odds fight into a multiple straddle where you're getting better than even money on each part of the straddle. I don't expect Donaire to look as good in this fight as people think, unless he lands punches very early in the fight before technician Omar Narvaez figures out the angles. Because once Narvaez figures out the angles, you're going to see a situation where a 25 to 1 favorite gets severely challenged. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments for me here on YouTube. Visit us at gamblersadvisory.com and predictboxing.blogspot.com. Thanks for watching.